Just like that, he was live. Right. First of all, welcome everybody, and thanks for being here on a Monday evening. You may have gathered from some of the stuff over the last number of days that I've had all kinds of technical problems being able to put this out through our usual studio. So I'm kind of making do. It's not just as normal, but at least you can hear me, and soon you're all going to see me. So anyway, you're very welcome. And I just suddenly recognized, just as we're about to go live, that the power was about to drop from this particular computer. So I had to do a quick jump there. Hi, Matt Carlin, all the way from New Zealand. Great to have you with us, Matt. Thank you so much for being part of the evening. And yeah, we got lots of stuff to talk about. I've got a special guest coming on in about 15 minutes, my good friend Peter McElvenna. We've got some exciting news to talk you through. So we will we'll talk a little bit about that shortly. And of course, there's lots of other things. Hi, Harry. Good to see you as well. Harry Johnson there. Great to see you. Very reliable, regular patron. Thank you, Harry. We will talk about actually breaking news just as I came on air. Did you see that Tommy Robinson has been arrested as he got off the flight from Faro at Luton Airport? Did you see that? That news has just come in. The transport police have arrested Tommy in connection with the incident at St Pancras Station about a week ago, roughly, something like that. Do you remember? So just one thing I would say, remember, in this country, you're innocent until proven otherwise. So people need to be careful what they say, that they don't prejudice any cases. We keep being told that when it comes to other people. So I guess that similarly applies to Tommy. So there you go. That's a bit of breaking news. Tommy Robinson arrested. Boy, the state do love to torture Tommy Robinson. I mean, I have to say, I will be there on the 13th of September at his free speech event that he's putting on. And it sounds like a great day. Did you see that Ant Middleton's going to be there? Jordan Peterson's going to be there. Eva, unpronounceable second name from Holland, is going to be there. Lots of good people going to be there. Great speakers, I think. So be a great day. So I hope to see you on the 13th of September at Tommy's event. And I hope more than anything that Tommy Robinson will be there. I was at the last Tommy Robinson event back in January, the end of January, beginning of February. I spoke at that one outside Downing Street. And you know, it was amazing. Here's a guy, he wasn't even there because they had him locked up, obviously, for the ridiculous contempt of court punishment that he'd gotten. And but there's a great group of people. Thousands of people turned up just because it was a Tommy Robinson event. So I don't know what you think. I mean, the thing is, like, you know, I'm all for the application of the rule of law. We should all be subject to the rule of law equally and fairly. But is there anyone watching this who genuinely thinks that the UK applies the law, you know, fairly and equally, and we're all subject to it? Because I don't. Certainly not since the end of July last year. We've seen two-tier policing, two-tier justice, all under two-tier care. And of course, that is why you're getting these initiatives like the online censorship bill, the online safety bill that keeps the kiddie safe and shuts us up if we say anything that might hurt the feelings of Keir Starmer or those around him and his god-awful government. So we have you know, that issue to consider. And you know, the thing about Starmer is, did you see his? I actually put out a podcast on it earlier today. His favourability ratings in Wales, it amused me. I mean, they're going to be destroyed in Wales next May in the Welsh Assembly elections. He's got a favourability, I think, roughly of about 18% or so, and a disfavourability. People don't approve of him. Like about 65, 70% or whatever. So they're going to be destroyed. The no doubt about it. And couldn't happen to a nicer guy. Next May in Wales, and I think they'll be destroyed in Scotland as well. We're going to talk about who will be of course, the party that gains from that. I think at this point it's going to be Reform UK. You never know. There's this Jeremy Corbyn, Zara Sultana, Islam, as I call it, Jezbollah. A combination of Marxism and Islamism, and they may do. I don't know if they ever actually get their act together. But the people that support it are the most stupid people in the world. Because I had to correct one of them earlier, who was saying we've got 700,000 members now. No, you haven't. You got 700,000 people who have signed up to your newsletter. Some of whom I know for a fact are people on the right taking the proverbial out of you clowns. So I'm not saying it doesn't have popular appeal amongst Marxists and amongst Islamists. I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying, yeah, if you sign up to something, you're not a member of it, not unless you pay money to be a member of it. And as far as I know, there's been no membership fees involved. In fact, actually, they haven't even got a name. I remember it was a Clint Eastwood movie, The Man with No Name or whatever. Well, this is the party with no name. And this is what may do well in the next year. But I think Reform will do well, which brings me to the first story I want to talk to you about. I want to talk to you about this one. Now, this is probably not the most serious story of the evening, but I want to talk about it just briefly. It would be remiss of me I didn't. And that is that I had seen earlier today that Nigel Farage was holding a press conference at 11:30. And it was all about law, which relates to what I've just been talking about when it comes to Tommy Robinson. Relates to law, okay? And then I've been busy today, and I didn't see any of it. And then someone phoned me, and they told me, "Did you see the Tommy Robinson, or did you see the Nigel Farage press conference?" And I said, "No." And they said, "You really want to see it? You want to just check in on it." So I did. I caught bits of it, and I thought what I would do is, in order to try and be fair, I think about two clips of it. But there's one clip I want to play, which is the clip of him. Yeah, this one here. Yes. So I want to play this. It doesn't last very long. It lasts a minute or so. Stick with me. We're going to play this first. Any second now. There we go.
When it comes to trans women in prisons, isn't it interesting that we run our country with people who become ministers, who generally have absolutely no idea of the subject matter that they're talking about? I've personally never worked in a prison, so I can't answer it. But I think you'll find that the answer that you'll get from somebody who has worked in prisons at the highest possible level is, I think, basically it's about risk assessment, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we all know what the law is. I'm not going to go back over that yet again. But to my mind, everybody who is in prison deserves to be treated with humanity and decency. And that includes female prisoners, and it includes trans prisoners. Everything in the prison service is risk assessed. And I am sure that the prison service will tie itself up in knots over the trans issue, just like many other public sectors have. Right. And
okay, so she just tied herself up in knots. Ironic. And by the way, hello to my good friend Chris Davies. Good to see you there, Chris. So I don't know if we have the other clip. So I wanted to be fair, as fair-minded as I could be, because she in that clip, both Farage and her talk about trans women who are men in prison, and it's all about risk assessment, so therefore the suggestion being that some trans women could be put up in male prisons. Well, let me just clarify the answer to that. The answer is no. Unambiguously, no. No men should ever be in a woman's prison. And actually shows what a clown person the Reform UK Justice advisor is. That, look, it's really simple, this one, and we all agree in this one. That's okay, Jed. No problem. There is another clip of her. She actually went on after what you've just seen, folks. She went on another media platform and she doubled down in this whole risk assessment, suggesting that in some circumstances a man could be in a woman's prison. And I disagree with her about dignity and stuff and that. I don't think. Do you think that things like, child rapists, mass murderers should be afforded dignity in prison? No, they shouldn't be afforded dignity in prison. Absolute scandal that she should even think like that. She demonstrates what's wrong with the prison system. Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? So Nigel Farage is on camera. You saw it. He was saying it's all about risk assessment, but it's not. It's about biological reality. If you're a bloke, and I'm sure my producer Jed and I agree on this at any rate, if you are a bloke, you can never be in a woman's prison ever, even for like as a prisoner for a second. You can't be there. You can't be. When we put women behind bars, and I mean, it's a horrible thing, I would imagine, to be have your liberty taken from you and put behind bars, right? I think that's a terrible thing. But if we are depriving you of your liberty for presumably you've committed a custodial crime, so you've been sentenced, and let's assume that's all legit, right? On that basis, therefore, you should be protected when you are behind bars. Well, as we've seen, like in Scotland with Isla Blair and some of these other individuals, these are predatory men who put on a wig and a frock, and then they say, "Well, we got," and they are accommodated, or they have been. Now, there's been such a furore put up about it that now I think it's a lot more awkward. Chris Davies says, why is Farage chosen this as the hill to die on? It makes no sense. Chris, my own honest to goodness answer to that is, I just think it was laziness on behalf of Farage. I don't really think he probably thinks that men should be in women's prison. I just think he didn't think about it very much. And I mean, I am conscious that I can slip of the tongue and all that, but I am pretty clear. And I think everyone watching this would probably agree with me that, hello, Blitzer. Yes, Blitzer did talk about the fact that Tommy's been arrested at Luton Airport. Let's wait and see what happens there, Blitzer, because we need to watch that one carefully. But I don't think there's anyone watching this who thinks, yeah, some women might be okay if it was risk assessed that they would be safe in a woman's prison, that they should be in the woman's prison. I don't believe anyone thinks that. If I'm right, I think you'd all feel like me, and that is that biological men, regardless of the wig or the frock or whatever else they're wearing, should be kept the hell out of women's prisons, out of women's spaces, out of women's changing rooms, out of women's washrooms, restrooms, all of that. Keep them out. And there's been a whole wave. I've seen it across. Oh, right. Stephen says, Stephen reposted. Thank you for reposting the stream, Stephen. And anyone else wants to repost this over an X, you're very welcome. So the thing is that we have to stick with biological reality. I don't wish to be cruel to trans people in any regard. I think they need help, mental help, medical help, possibly. But although I think psychiatry is a bit of a quack speciality. And so I found it really surprising that Nigel Farage said, or certainly indicated that, now that some might, because of this risk assessment nonsense spoken by his justice advisor. There's been a big backlash against it online. I'm sure you've all seen it. If you've been on X, you've seen, especially women, some of whom I know, going, what the? Because they weren't expecting this. Just like you guys, no one was expecting Nigel Farage to come out and say, well, before we can put a man in a woman's prison, we need to do a risk assessment. No, Nigel, we just don't do it. Got that? It's really, really clear. It's unambiguous. It's clear. It's, as Michael Jackson would say, it's black and white. And although maybe that's racism, but can you be racist if you quote Michael Jackson? Not sure. So anyway, folks, that has been a big issue on X today. I think it's been a bit of an own goal from Farage. I mean, there was no reason. No one desperately needed to have this information provided. And if I was Nigel, no, Nigel won't be listening to me. I know Nigel won't listen to me. But honestly, you see this justice minister that you've got brought in, the ex-prison governor, she's a disaster. She, and I said the term advisedly, is a disaster. And so you'd do far better if you just quietly, walked away, because we need to have whichever party is going to become big and challenge the uni party. We need it to be fixed principles, folks. One fixed principle is that men do not go into women's spaces under any circumstance. Zero circumstance. Are you with me? I think that's right anyway. So that's first thing. Right, the next topic, I'm going to move on. I don't know. Hopefully our special guest will be joining me soon, but if he doesn't, that's fine. Hopefully he will later. I've told him there's a whole 45 minutes to join. And this is the more serious topic, to be quite honest, and that is the stuff that's been happening, the protests outside the migrant hotels. I want to get stuck into this with you. And I think now we've got a clip. I'm going to play it in a wee second, but just to set it up. So you all know the backstory to this one. The Bell Hotel in Epping contained a lot of migrants, cross-channel migrants, invaders. And local people were not happy, and they protested and they protested and they protested. And what happened? Well, what happened was the government then moved the migrants from the Bell Hotel in Epping to the Britannia Hotel in Canary Wharf, which is, if you know it, it's right in the heart of the financial district of London. A very expensive area. If any of you have been there, Canary Wharf ain't cheap, folks. But I mean, we have to look after our illegal migrants, don't we? So he moved them to this hotel. The government moved them to this hotel. I'm sure Stormer had an involvement in it as well. And then what happened? There was more protests, and the protests have been gathering steam. So then, this is Monday. So yesterday, I think it was yesterday, this happened, and this then caused. So we're going to play a clip of a police officer coming up and speaking to the crowd of mostly women, and actually a lot of women and children protesting. It was a very nice protest from what I could see of it. But this is what a police officer, and you'll hear him in his own words. I do not wish to put words in a police officer's mouth. Here we go. This is outside the hotel.
Okay. Right. There's a section 42. Section 42 in place of 2001. You're causing distress or harm to the resident of this hotel. Yeah. You have to leave now and not return within 28 days to this area. If you don't, you will be arrested. Okay.
So you're telling me that we're not allowed to
8 days because you're causing distress or harm to the resident of this hotel.
Is there anything?
If you don't comply with that,
we need the area to
you will be arrested. So you need to clear out
we need the area to sign the rain.
How long do I get?
We don't want to,
We just need the area cleared.
we need to clear off. You need to clear off.
Okay, so that's the gist of it, folks. The sound quality isn't brilliant, but you get the gist of it. The police officer, whose command of English wasn't exactly exceptional, now was it? He basically was said. You heard him say that you've got to leave now. You can't protest here for 28 days. I think it's an Article 42 or some such terminology was being used against protesters. And this caused an absolute. Oh, here, another wee quick update here. My good friend Chris Davey says, I'm just back from Benidorm. Of course you are, Chris. And it's full of migrants begging on the streets, and hotels are advising people not to walk alone at nightfall. Yeah, of course. It's the invasion of Europe. So, and this is what's happening in the UK, Chris, as we all know. So this officer was plainly telling these people, right, you cannot demonstrate out here for the next 28 days. Because, and this was the kicker, this was the bit that I think enraged not just me, but half the country, because you're causing alarm and distress to the inhabitants of the Britannia Hotel, the illegal migrants. So what? So because illegal migrants aren't happy that people are protesting against them, the response from the police is you can't protest against them. And that was where the anger. I mean, I'm sure you know, if you saw this, you'd have been annoyed at it yourself. It seems like a complete inversion. You know, the inversion thing I talk about, where everything's being stood on its head. So I don't care that the illegal migrants are alarmed and distressed. Their presence in that location is causing alarm and distress to many families in the area, for young women, to mums worrying about their daughters. It's causing, they're the people whose alarm and distress I'm concerned about. And I bet you feel the same. They're the people we should be, thinking about. And what's the government response? Well, via the police, is to say, move along and don't come back for 28 days. Now, again, this shows you the power of social media. When this started to go, GB News reported it firstly. And then very quickly, the Metropolitan Police put out a statement. And the statement was that, oh, no, there's a misunderstanding here. No, it was the 28-day prohibition of demonstrating only applied to certain individuals who, according to the Metropolitan Police, had allegedly tried to enter the hotel, right? So therefore, but everyone else is totally safe to, totally okay to demonstrate. I don't buy it. I don't buy a word of it. Do you? I think the police were caught out. I think the police need to have people who can speak English clearly and who can communicate clearly. That officer didn't, by the way. That officer definitely didn't. And it was perfectly understandable that most people would take from that video clip that he was basically saying to the crowd that, yeah, listen, you better not come back here for 28 days. 28 days. So, it's all wrong. And this is the whole issue we have fundamentally with this wicked government. It's putting migrants before Brits. And that's, that's why we're going through a summer of protest. Next weekend, Saturday, Sunday, there will be protests in all migrant hotels, in a lot of these migrant hotels anyway. Local families, local people saying, we're not happy with this. We don't want you here. Move them on. Well, where should they move to, David? France is where they should be moved to. That's where they all came from. All back to France, all of them. I don't know, hire there's so many of them, you'd have to hire multiple large ferries to get them back, but that's what I would do. And so the thing is that, it's just unacceptable to have all these people here. So this is not going away, Keir Starmer. You're not going to bully people into protesting against people who break our laws to come here. This is the point I wanted to make to you. And I wonder, will you accept me in this one? We have perfectly lawful routes to apply for asylum into the UK, which people can choose to go through. And that's all fine. That's lawful. If you come across in a dinghy, by definition, you're breaking the law to get here. You are committing a criminal act. That means they are all criminals. They've committed a criminal act to come here. And what's the government's priorities? Well, we don't want people protesting outside their hotels because it might hurt their feels. Their feels might get hurt. They might cry. And that's essentially what that police officer was communicating. That now, as for the residents being alarmed, there's other photographs in that hotel yesterday of residents having a good laugh up on the 4th or 5th floor at the crowd. So, it's very, very murky, the stuff that's going on at the moment. It's really murky. I think even tonight, as we're talking about this live on air, I think there's a protest going on in Mansfield as well. Again, same topic. And this is going to keep going, And in a way, it reminds me of a year ago in the aftermath of the Southport massacre by that second-generation Rwandan migrant, aka Welsh choir boy. And so it's it's a similar feel to it, that it's going to be a long, hot August. And it needn't be, because no one wants to see violence. No one wants to see any of this. But no one wants to see all these, 25,000 migrants we've got in the UK so far this year, cross-channel migrants, on top of all the additional legal migrants. And, and if that wasn't bad enough, then let me move on then to the next topic, which is that if that wasn't bad enough, did you see the government announced, or it's been talked about today, they're going to bring over 300 Gazans to the NHS? Oh no, but they're children, David. Think of the children. I do think of the children, the British children, our kids, the kids that we pay taxes, which go to the NHS, so that in their moment of need, the NHS can look after our kids. But it turns out the NHS is too busy. It's got greater priorities than that. So these 300 Gaza children, I'd like to know what the definition of a Gazan child is. Are they the ones with the beards? You know, and you do a DNA sample, they're about 40. But anyway, roughly, hang on a second, I'm just wanting to check stuff here. Oh yeah, right. Sorry, I didn't, because I'm on a different screen, I don't see everything that I previously seen. So I do see that our special guest, he's been sitting there waiting, God knows how long. So I'll return to the Gazans in a minute, actually. But first, let me bring on, with no further ado, our special guest for this evening, Mr. Peter McElvenna of Hearts of Oak. Bye-bye. Oh, he's here.
No.
Hi, Peter.
I'm here to make Gaza great again.
Sorry, Peter. As you know, Peter, I've been having nightmare issues with the studio, and I found a way to get in through a different laptop, but the layout isn't the same for me, and therefore I'm struggling a wee bit. But anyway, sorry if it kept
Are you sitting on your toilet or something in your bathroom on this?
No, but unfortunately, I've discovered that StreamYard customer service is an oxymoron. You know. Anyway, just while we're at it, before we get on to our main topic, which we're going to cover, Gazans, 300 Gazans. Are you real happy about that, Peter? That we can, our NHS is so magnificent, it can serve the world.
I mean, if the Brits, the British public who pay into the system, could actually see a specialist in under 9 months, then, I mean, no problem. Why? You've got a waiting list. You've got doctors on strike demanding a 25% pay rise or something stupid. Yep. And we're going to import people from the other side of the world to actually go on. I assume, I don't know, David, whether these Gazan children, which I know children is a different definition in the Middle East, I know. Yeah. But I wonder whether these children will go at the bottom of the waiting list, or will they go to the top? Surely not, because why should they jump to the top of the queue? In Britain, we enjoy our queues. We like our queues. Get to the back of the line. And I can imagine there'll be a little bit of queue jumping by these Gazans coming over.
Well, exactly. And then are they coming over on their own? Or will mum and dad and their 16 brothers and 16 sisters, will they be coming with them?
I mean, their 4 wives.
And their four wives, their multiple wives, yeah. And how long will they be coming for? And if they, because apparently they've been seriously injured in the conflict with Israel. So I would think they're going right to the top of the queue. And that means, as you point out rightly, Peter, that potentially 300 British kids are going to the back of the queue. Along with the Afghans, they're also going to the front of the queue. These Afghans, you know, all the interpreters and their massive families, they're all coming here, and they'll also go to. So we prioritize all the wrong stuff. But anyway.
But David, it's only 22 in the families. It's not massive. Come on.
They're moderately sized. Yeah, moderately sized families. You know, and but I mean, seriously, I mean, you know, like, you know what it's like, Peter. People going into NHS hospitals. Well, first of all, if you want to see a GP, good luck with that. Get an appointment. You know, you're going to struggle. Go into an NHS A&E. Look at the massive queues, all of that. And so it's obvious that the NHS is entirely dysfunctional anyway to start with. So this just makes it worse. And it's virtue signaling as well.
No, it is. And I saw a meme the other day. I've probably told you about it. The meme was, you go, if you're an American citizen, you go and say, I've got a headache. And they say, write a check for £40,000 and we'll look at it. If you're a Brit, well, there's a 9-month queue. After the 9 months, we'll see you. And the Canadian model is, have you considered suicide? And literally, they're all dysfunctional, utterly dysfunctional. None of them work, and we need to come up with a different way. And I think Rupert Lowe pointed out that how dare you have foreigners coming in using the national health service. This is not a Gazan health service. They can use the Hamas health service that all the people in Gaza are happy with, because they have not had a single revolt, a single demonstration. We haven't had the uprisings that we saw in Tunisia and Egypt or whatever 10 odd years ago. We haven't seen any uprising. So, hey, if they enjoy having Hamas run their health system, their education, their political system, then, hey, enjoy it, and take with it what it comes. So you're not coming here.
That's right. And also, how many Arab nations are around Gaza? I think there's about 37 different Arab nations that could take them. So my view is, go there. We don't want any of you. We don't want none of you here. But Stormer's going to bring them. But this is all part of the issues that need to be openly and freely discussed, which although actually, Peter, so much to talk about. Did you see before we came on air, just news broke that Tommy Robinson had been arrested at Luton Airport after getting off his flight from abroad? Did you see that story?
So I saw that, and I someone messaged me, and I posted about 10 minutes ago that I stand with Tommy. I cannot accept that he just decked someone out of the blue. That is not Tommy. He is hot-headed, but he is a very, very smart individual. He wouldn't have lost like that. This is the deep state trying to remove him any way possible. So this is deep state doing what they do. He is an enemy of the state. They will do anything to take him out. And he has obviously come back to face the music in that incident that I'm sure we don't know the whole side to it.
That's right.
And just knock people out and deck people on train stations. That's not what happens. Obviously, the state trying to whip him up, trying to annoy him, trying to stir him up. And again, I think we talk to each other, and we are at a normal level. We are not targets of the state in any way compared to what Tommy is. And it's very difficult to put yourself in his position, being harassed, your family, your finances, being persona non grata, being chased, being deported from country after country. And if you kind of begin to imagine what he faces simply because he wants to talk about Islam and the place that Islam has, or the place it shouldn't have in this country, and the abuse on our freedoms that Islam poses to us, simply for calling that out, he is an enemy of the state. So I stand with Tommy, as foolish as some people may say, but past all of it, he actually wants to do the right thing. He is absolutely focused. And if only we had more Tommy Robinsons, we'd be in a much better position in the UK.
Well, I agree. I completely agree with that. And I second all of that, but the thing is that obviously Tommy has come back from where he was, and he's planning his big free speech festival, which happens on Saturday, the 13th of September in central London. And I know
that's the day after our event.
Oh, is that right? Oh gosh, it's just fate. It is fate. Right, folks, without further ado, let's just bring up on screen what Mr. McElvenna and myself are engaged in. So look, we've got this event, Liberty Unlocked, Defending Free Speech, on with we've got several special guests, but the first one is Mr. Andrew Bridgen, who you'll all be familiar with. And listen, we have you can go to my X and X account. It's pinned to the top. Go across, buy tickets, come along and hear the erudite Peter McElvenna and Andrew Bridgen, and then just me kind of mumbling in the background probably. But come and see us for a night of I think it should be really interesting political discussion, a few laughs as well, I hope, along the way. It's going to be, we'll provide the location details closer to the time. It's South London. It's a new venue, and it's got a bar, by the way. Everyone's got a bar. So if you fed up with Peter and me, you can go and have a drink. or maybe before you meet Peter, we're going to have a drink. But Peter, tell our listeners and viewers about this event from your perspective.
I'm just looking through my feed to see why I hadn't actually pinned it. So thank you. I'm just, as we're talking, there you go. I am now pinning it. So it's also pinned on the top of Hearts of Oak, at Hearts of Oak UK. But no, David, we've done a number of events in the past. And as you're right, we've done with Andrew Bridgen. It was Andrew and Coral, wasn't it? Our first one.
It was indeed, yeah. Andrew and Coral, yeah.
In the centre of London, and we had a great evening with him. Andrew is utterly fearless, was thrown out of the Conservative Party, thrown out of Parliament simply because he stood up to the system and the big pharma rollout, the government push, the media orchestration behind that, all of that. And he literally was the one person who would stand up. There are lots of conservatives who stood far behind him and probably whispered in his ear, "Thank you, Andrew. I couldn't possibly say that, but well done." So because of his bravery, he put his job on the line, lost his job, despite being a hugely popular MP. And I can't accept that was not a steal on that election. So we have him. We're also going to announce different guests as time goes on. We've got a huge range, and I am expecting, I'm planning, looking forward to having a range of voices on the front. It'll not just be David and me talking. You can get us talking now at 8:30 on Monday evening. You can get David and I talking most evenings on somewhere. But actually, it'll be a range of people. It'll be about connecting. It'll be about relationship that I think we all miss those public gatherings, especially with venues that are quick to cancel any free speech. David has done fantastically on getting a venue that actually will not cancel free speech, a large venue that will have a couple of hundred of you. So come along and stand up for freedoms. We'll be around to chat to people before, after, go out for a drink. There are lots of bars around. There's a bar in the venue, and it's just about connecting and refocusing, I think, together, that we get so much crap, so much thrown at us in terms of everything, in terms of censorship or surveillance, in terms of Islam, in terms of hatred at British values in every way, destruction of the church, destruction of the family, and it's a chance to come together and be with like-minded people and actually celebrate what we can do together, as opposed to, as sometimes we do, rail against the problems that we face.
And the other thing we should say about the event, Peter, is that, whilst Andrew is the first guest that we've announced, as you say, we will have other ones to announce, and they're not. There's an international aspect to the people who we will be having with us as well, because the issues that we face are the same pretty much across the Anglosphere at any rate. It is, the same problems. And therefore it's great to bring people from different countries together. That's what Tommy's doing that, obviously, the next day with a vengeance with some of his great guests. I was trying to think of the name of, how do you pronounce Eva's second name? Here's a question for you. I just think, Eva, blondie person, but Eva, what's her name?
I don't know. She's got great genes, so I don't know.
She has got good genes. Yeah.
I've no, but David, I think one of the, as we talked about this, and we hadn't done an event together for a while. I know you did one with Ben and Ben Habib and Kate Hoey and others. More recently that I went along to, but we kind of thought, well, actually, people are coming to London. They're coming to what's possibly going to be the biggest free speech demonstration that we have seen in decades, if not ever. I remember the big one where Raheem was leading the Free Tommy rallies probably 10 years ago on Whitehall, and that was bunged. This is, you've got when you got people like Jordan Peterson coming over, Jordan and Tammy coming,
Yep.
You've got so many. This is going to be one of the largest gatherings of free speech activists in London. And because of that, I think we had a conversation and said, well, why not do something the night before? Because people are traveling, and make this a focal point somewhere that people can gather, people can connect, come together and see like-minded people, because some people will be traveling by themselves, some people will be traveling by a group, and why not come and you can hang out with David, and you can even hang out with me if you really want to, and with the speakers, and connect with people beforehand, the night before, instead of just going to a pub somewhere and maybe being by yourself. So come, be with like-minded people, have a good evening the night before, and prep for actually what's going to be a phenomenal day on the Saturday.
Yeah, it's going to be a weekend unlike any others. And as you say, Peter, when we've tried to do these before, getting a Friday night venue in London is so hard, but we've got one. And so therefore it is literally, it's the night before Christmas. It's the night before the big Tommy's massive rally. So therefore, I think if people like, I know for a fact there'll be people who watch this who will be going to the Tommy thing on the Saturday. So I'm just simply saying to them, come and see Peter and myself and Andrew and some of the other great people will be announcing the night before. And, for at least 48 hours, you're getting, uncensored. The Online Safety Act can't get us on the Friday or the Saturday. I think we can actually speak freely, which we will do, because, just to go back to Andrew Bridgen for a second, whereas Andrew's been very good on the issues of the vaccines and all of that. So, but he's also very good in a whole range of other things as well, because I think, Peter, and this is something that, and well, you also get this, I think, from your own location. Once you're inside the belly of the beast, Westminster, life's different. Life is not as many people think it, and people become manipulated and shaped by the system. I don't think Andrew was one of those at all. And certainly from the very first event you and I did, he's been very consistent in speaking up across a whole range of stuff. And I listened to Andrew, and I find some really interesting views, which you and I will have the chance to talk to him about. And if anyone in the audience wants to ask questions, we can explore all that, So hopefully, folks, you'll be, convinced that it'll be a good evening. The other ones we've done, they've all been good evenings, Peter. It hasn't been a bad evening at all. But Friday night in London seems to be the better night than a Thursday night. So hopefully,
no, I agree. It fits in. Andrew's absolute hero, and I think all your viewers will agree 100% with that. And yeah, you may have thought that David Vance is holding back and has censored himself. Well, come along to that event and you'll get David uncensored, maybe for the first time ever.
Yeah, well, I can assure you, yes, there'll be no holding back, because the whole purpose of this is, we've called it defending free speech, and that's the right of anyone to say within the remits of all that's civilized and lawful. Say what you want. Disagree with me, disagree with Peter, disagree with Andrew, but let's have this fundamental centrality of free speech. And because honestly, I don't know about you, Peter, but I did not realize a year ago when Stormer got in that a year later we would be in a world where online safety stopping us seeing things. They're talking about the digital IDs, which we talked about 4 years ago, all that stuff, and you can see it manifesting itself in front of us, and it's kind of scary. So all the more reason in 2021, we stood up against the COVID tyrants, but in 2025, surely, Peter, we have to stand up against the people who would take away our free speech.
No, I agree. And for those who think, you're looking at 2029, a political change, possibly, because that's going to be the next where I can't see we're having an election before then, because Labour is such a majority. They may change the leader at the top, but actually we'll just get Angela Rayner, or we'll just get David Lammy, or we'll just get it'll go from bad to worse. So we're stuck with this hateful regime that wants to destroy every single value that we have. So actually, don't look ahead to 2029 I mean, by all means, think that Nigel is going to be the savior in 2029. He'll be better than what we have at the moment, but we need to have a hell of a lot better to completely transform the nation and turn it around to do a 180-degree U-turn. So in the meantime, in those 4 years, we need to actually speak, we need to connect, we need to engage, we need to do something, and not sit in our backsides hoping that in 2029 there will be a change. And whether that's with reform, whether that's with Ben to be with the Vance UK, Ben is engaging and doing stuff now. It's all about the here and now, what we can do, because by 2029 we won't have a country left. So not that we're going to change Britain on one Friday night, but this is a part of the jigsaw, I think, where we connect and where we engage and where we recharge our batteries and where we go back into the fight better prepared than where we were before. So that's what Friday's about.
Exactly. I mean, my hope would be if people come along and see us and our guests on the Friday, and they come along on the Saturday and see Tommy and all his guests, they'll go away home on the Sunday sort of energized, having spent. And I find this when we've done things before, there's an energy comes from being amongst, let's be honest, our own tribe. Like there is an energy, people who have high integrity and are patriots and who see it for what it is, Peter. There's a real energy. And I think, if I may say, that at this point in time, like you saw I think you've been maybe at some of these sort of migrant hotel protests where families are understandably very, very anxious about the sort of people that the government's moving in to their communities. And I think as we go through August, and we're only in early August now, I think these protests are going to get bigger, and I don't think they're going away. And so if you think about that, you get to the end of August, and then like a week and a half, 10, 14 days later, or whatever, we're then in London, and Tommy's in London. So I think the timing is interesting. What do you think about these protests outside the illegal migrant hotels?
So it's springing up, and I went to the one in the Barbican in London on, when was it, Friday, Saturday, and a large group of people. I was intrigued by the aggressive, hateful nature of the Antifa, all masked at the front, all just shouting so loud with the drum, causing chaos to the people around them, to the people who live there, just making an absolute nuisance of themselves. I just thought, that's just like a dog that goes and poos in the park and walks away. That's literally what they are doing, is just this big poo in the middle and walking away and just stinking the place. They're just causing harassment and frustration. That's the first thing. The second thing is the whole hotel was blocked off, so the people are obviously protected from the awful Brits that would be concerned at a hotel being taken over. And then, of course, you saw the Canary Wharf hotel repopulated at 3 a.m. in the morning. Why would that happen? Obviously, because the British government want to hide this, like the super injunctions, like everything else, like the threats against the media. They want to hide what is happening. We are not supposed to know what is happening. This is supposed to be all under the cover of darkness, and it's only the alternative media that report on what is happening. It's going to build and build. Last August, the frustration boiled over to possible violence in different places. People really angry. This seems to be not boiling over to that side, but just a level of anger and frustration. And if we can contain that so it doesn't fall over into any aggression or violence, that's where we will win, because I'll say we don't give the state an excuse, but of course they don't need an excuse, as we've just seen with Tommy. But I think we need to keep it under that level, so the media are with us and the state don't have an excuse. And you saw I know we've all got our issue with GB News, but you saw the latest report that they were the most popular or whatever it was. And I know Ben, who's done a fantastic job with GB News, and I've forgotten his surname, but he's done a great job in reporting stuff on GB News and seems to be one of us as opposed to some of the others who maybe really aren't. But he was there reporting at the Barbican, and we need to keep entities like that on board and not lose them, because GB News have a role. And as much as we may be frustrated with different presenters, they have a role in speaking certainly on the immigration issue. So we need to make sure that we don't alienate voices like that.
No, you're right, and I think the you mentioned the peaceful nature of the protests. That is important, that we don't give any hostages to fortune there. And I was looking at the outside the Britannia at Canary Hotel at Canary Wharf, and we started the program talking about this. There was a lot of women and kids there with their English flags, Union flags, and it's all great. And I think that sends a really good vibe. And I think there's another one happening tonight, literally as we're talking, in Mansfield as well. Similar thing, women very prominent, children or daughters with them and whatnot, and understandably, because they're the people that more likely will be, in the crossfire of the illegal migrants, given some of the crimes that we see they're committing. The government doesn't want to talk about, So I think it's a brilliant image, Peter. I mean, the Epping, the Bell Hotel in Epping was an absolute template. That's how you do it. Only the problem is the government snuck them out, as you say, under the cloak of darkness. The Bible tells us about that, dark deeds done in the night, and brought them to Canary Wharf. But the problem hasn't gone away. And I think, I'm not a prophet, but I think the protests outside Canary Wharf this weekend are going to be, at that hotel, are going to be something else. What did you think of the article? Was it Article 42 or something, that the police officer said, "Oh, because this is now in place, therefore you can't come back for 28 days." What did you think of that controversy?
I think the police, I don't know. Well, obviously it's not the rank and file police officers; it's those above them that are making these rules, and huge concern of draconian measures being put in place. They are simply working in collusion with the government to make sure and hide this. And if only we had an opposition, but sadly we don't, and therefore the voice doesn't get out. But huge concern of that, and huge concern of the guy who's supposedly died in the prison cell. That's also, and when I was there, I saw one person getting arrested. He was probably stupid in that he had a face mask and was getting arrested, and you don't really want to do that. You don't want to give them a reason. Don't come and be pissed or wear a balaclava or shout abuse, or there are certain things. But I saw him being arrested with about 10 police officers around him, and he was being arrested because he was told he strayed into an area that he was not allowed to be. So again, the police are penning people in, and if you were found in an area that you're not supposed to be, the police would arrest you. Heavy-handed measures. And do we not have the right to protest? Do we not have the right to be angry and stand outside a hotel that's housing sex criminals? Surely we should be objecting against that. And the government are trying to do everything they can to restrict our freedoms to protest. And it's an interesting edge that we find ourselves on what freedoms do we fall on the side on. The freedoms of those who commit sex crimes, who come into this country illegally, who should all be rounded up, who should all be kept in a prison cell and sent back within days. That's really, I would be up for taking one of the Outer Hebrides Islands, sticking them there and holding them on the island until you deport them back to God knows where, as long as it's not in the UK. But maybe leave them with the SNP to deal with.
Deport them where they all came from the same place, France. They all go back to France. I don't care where they hail from. They came to our country from France. Deport. I would declare a national emergency in the English Channel. Obviously stop any more coming in, which Stormer won't do, and then deport them all back. But of course, in the meantime, and this is sort of a final thought really, one of my biggest worries is that we're focused very much on the migrant hotels, But Starmer's made it clear, Peter, that he wants to have these migrants in HMOs, houses of multiple occupancy, which means it's like the cancer cells are going to be blasted into a million places. So, you have an empty house or, 3 doors down from where you live, you can now have a house full of migrants, whereas at least the one hotel was further. So, I worry about this because in ways he wants to make it worse, because I think that will be worse, because houses, little kids playing in the streets, it beggars belief, but that's his plan.
It is. And I was just saying, if I could pull up a story on that here's the story. So it was 6 days ago. It was in the front of the City AM London paper. And the headline was just 904 new homes registered in London in the last 3 months. That's 300 homes a month. And this is down from 2,200 in the middle of 2024. So you've gone from 2,200 to 900, more or less a 2/3 fall off. Because of the stringent planning conditions, all the issues the government put on. And yet we have a Labour government that say they're going to build. Maybe they should drill, baby, drill, but build. And I have seen in a lot of parts of London, huge blocks going up, like 20-story, 25-story blocks. They're all multiple occupancy. They're all going to be rented out. And if the demand is not there, then of course they will collude with a local authority, and you'll have all these sex-starved migrants actually shoved in that area, whether it's beside a school or not. I mean, who does a disclosure check on these people? No one. No one knows who they are, what crimes they've committed, but you dump them in the middle of a residential area where I've seen a couple of these blocks, schools, 5-10 minutes walk, children walking past. Have the government made any assessment on the protection of Brits? No. All they care about is the protection of all these foreigners. Maybe one of these blocks will be for a group of Gazans to come over and get their free healthcare. But you kind of look at what's happening and you scratch your head and you're thinking, how pure evil are our government to think they want to cause utter destruction, and they do not give a damn what the Brits feel. And yet tribal voting will mean that many people will vote for them, despite the fact their communities are utterly decimated and destroyed. So it's utterly infuriating, and we are 4 years away from an election. And no matter how many press conferences Nigel does or anyone else does in a political party, we need a solution now, and that is not a political solution. And that's why it's about engagement, coming together. It's about media. It's about us deciding what we can do in our local communities. It's looking at other ways of making sure this doesn't happen, and making sure the government realize that we hate our government more than any other government, and we'll do whatever to stop this happening.
Yeah, I mean, this is, in all my life, I can't remember a government coming to power with such a big majority, Peter, only a year ago, and being so despised, so loathed. It's remarkable. But I mean, that victory they had last year, whilst they got a lot of MPs, it was a very shallow victory. It was really a consequence of the Tories being absolutely, at that point, gone, and hopefully never coming back. And so the hatred towards them, the contempt for Starmer, the fact that nobody's calling their child Keir in the last year, it's probably evident that this has not been the wonder thing that they thought it was going to be. So, folks, if you've enjoyed the banter the two of us have been having, just think of the mix that we're going to have on September the 12th in London. So we'll just wrap this one up by a reminder that the tickets are now on sale. Please go and buy one. Come and see us, and we'll have a good night. And Peter's right. The way forward in this is for all of us to come together and doing it in real time, Peter, which is something we've said at the very beginning with the very first thing we did with Andrew and Carl. It was just that sense of let's bring human beings together and have a night out, like-minded people, basically seeing stuff, but able to talk freely about stuff without fear of, unless you got a VPN, you can't say this. Well, no, we don't need a VPN. We'll say whatever the hell we want on the evening, and it'll be good. It'll be interesting. It'll be fun as well. So looking forward to it, Peter. Right, folks, that's it from the two. It's like the two Ronnies. It's like that's it from Peter and myself for tonight. I hope you'll come and see us as you have done in the previous shows that we put on. And I will catch you later on in the week. And I'm sure you'll be joining Peter on Hearts of Oak as he puts out his content as we go through the week together as well. But from Peter and myself, folks, that's it for tonight. Good night.